Well, welcome back, guys. This is going to be our next session in creating your perfect pinch pot here. And at this point, this is where you're at. You have this amount finished. You went through and you pinched around and all the way up your clay wall. And hopefully you spent some time kind of smoothing it out so we can't really see your fingerprints. You're still going to be able to feel them a little bit. But for the most part, it should be really smooth. And take the time to kind of smooth out this rim area right here as well. And I just want to make a quick reminder about kind of the amount of pressure that you guys should be putting on your clay. So if we can just kind of pretend like this is our clay wall. So like this part right here is representing this area. So when you guys are pinching, a lot of times beginners will pinch incredibly hard. So you're kind of like going all over the way, just kind of pinching wherever your little heart desires. And that's fine if we're just kind of messing around. But if you're trying to make something, look really nice and smooth, then this isn't the route that you want to go. Plus, remember, we're going to turn this pinch pot into a mug. So we probably want it to be really even all the way around from bottom to top. So I'm just going to kind of prep my clay back up here, and I'm going to show you, really how much your clay should be moving. So remember, you're pinching with the pillow tops of your fingers. So with your pointer finger, your middle finger, and your thumb, and just this padded part right here. So we're pinching like this. We're like little crabs. So what's happening is you're pinching so slightly that it almost looks like the clay isn't even really moving, right? So that's the amount of pressure you want to be putting on your clay wall. Now, after you've been doing this for a while, then you can kind of speed up your process, and your sense of touch, it will just feel like second nature for you. So again, it's a really slow process. You don't want to squeeze the clay really hard all at once, because that's how you get all that lumpiness and all those cracks. So I hope that just kind of further explains exactly what I'm meaning by consistent pressure every time you pinch and just doing it really lightly. So with that in mind, we're going to switch back to our pinch pot, and we're going to complete this process because currently this is too thick. As you can see on my example here, how much thinner this is. So that's probably a better angle for you. So this was actually a coil, so we're not going to necessarily make this pinch pot quite that thin, but you can see that this is definitely too thick. So we're going to just repeat the process that we did previously. Your thumb is always going to be on the inside. You're going to go down as far as you possibly can. If you can't go down to the bottom, that's okay. Just go down as far as you can, and you're going to repeat the process. So remember, gently pinching, and where that area where your clay goes in between your fingers, that's where you're going to pinch next. So we're always, always, always overlapping our pinch marks as we go around the clay. Overlap, overlap, overlap. Notice I'm not pinching just wherever I want, and I'm only pinching with the pillow tops of my finger. Overlap, overlap, overlap. I know you guys get tired of me saying that, but that's how you're going to get that consistent, even wall, even all the way around and all the way up. So like I told you before, we're going to stop once we've gone all the way back to where we started. We're going to stop, we're going to check the clay wall to see if we've got any new cracks or crumbs. And if you do, you're going to take your spray bottle, you're going to spray it with some water, and you're just going to smooth those areas out. Generally, you tend to get cracks around the rim, so just kind of be on the lookout for that. And then again, you're just going to kind of pull that clay over on top of itself. So now that I've gone all the way around in my first section, I'm going to remember gently and slightly move up my clay wall. So here's where my first fingerprints were. I'm not going to come all the way up here and pinch, because that would leave a large lump right here and a large thickness compared to where I pinched previously. So I'm just going to slightly move up my clay wall and continue to pinch around my pinch pot. Slow, slow, slow. If you need to, stop the video and go ahead and do this to your pinch pot. You're going to repeat this process over and over until you get all the way back up to the rim, and then I want you to stop. So now I'm going back through. I pinched all the way to the top of my pinch pot. I'm going to go back through with my thumb, and I'm just going to kind of switch directions, and I'm going to smooth out any kind of lumpiness or fingerprint marks. If you feel like you have like a little bit of a ridge from when you moved up the clay wall, just go back and just kind of pinch those areas back down. We're going to talk about if you have unevenness here in our next step. I'm just going in on the inside, just keeping it in the palm of my hand. And I'm not really pushing because I don't want to stretch the clay out. I'm just smoothing it. So try not to push down when you're smoothing. I'm just going around and I'm smoothing the inside out with my fingertip, but I'm not pushing down on my palm. Try not to apply pressure when you're smoothing out the inside because you'll stretch the clay out. And then I'm going to go back through and just kind of smooth out this rim. Again, if you need to add water, just spray your clay a little bit. If it's feeling like it's drying or your clay's not really moving for you, it might be getting a little bit dry, so it might need some moisture. Okay, so again, if you need to take a break or maybe you got to go get a drink or whatever, just flip your pinch pot over so it's sitting on the rim because we're not ready to flatten the foot yet. But I want to talk about if you have an uneven clay wall, because when you put your thumb into the clay, maybe your thumb went in crooked, and so now one side of your pinch pot is thicker than the other. So how do you fix that? Well, what you're going to do is you're going to rely on your sense of touch. This is a really tactile medium, so sometimes your eyes kind of get in the way of having a really nice design. So what you can do is, without looking at your pinch pot, and this takes practice, but you're gonna put your thumb on the inside and you're just gonna kind of slide your fingers. I'm not pinching and I'm not pushing, I'm just kind of sliding my fingertips around the clay. And what you're looking for is you should feel an area that's thicker or thinner. If you feel an area that is thinner than the rest of the clay wall, as you go around it, what you're going to do is you're going to put an X. This X is going to remind us not to pinch in this area because this is still too thick. So we want to continue to thin this out. So this X is going to remind us not to pinch in this area. Sometimes I even will draw like a little line. So what's going to happen is, you might have multiple X's on here, and that's perfectly all right. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna put your thumb back down into the inside of your pinch pot. You're gonna go back down as far as you can, and you're gonna repeat the process that I just talked to you about in the last two clips. So pinching, pinch, 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 pinch. We're gonna pretend here, pinch, 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 pinch. Oh, there's the X. So I'm gonna skip over that, and I'm going to continue pinching. So pinch, 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 pinch. I'm not really pinching, I'm just pretending. Pinch, there's the X, skip over it. When you get all the way back to the top, what you're going to do is you're going to go back in and you're going to touch, you're going to feel your clay wall. And if the rest of your clay wall, so this whole area that you've been pinching, if it is now caught up to this area, if it's now the same thickness, what you're going to do is you're going to smooth this out. However, if the rest of your clay wall is still thicker than this area where the X was, you're going to leave that there as a reminder. But once your clay wall is caught up and it's all the same thickness, you're going to smooth out those lines and that X you made, because we don't want that on our coffee mug. And if you need to spray it with a little bit of water, you can do that. So at this point, I want you to go ahead and I want you to check for those thin areas that you might have. And while you're doing that, I'm going to go back down to the bottom of my pinch pot, and I'm going to pinch around and up with the same pressure, same consistency to get this pinch pot thinned out. So now that I have my walls pinched out, I'm at a pretty good thickness at this point. I don't want to get this too thin because I'm going to be adding a coil to the top of this to build up my clay wall for my mug. So at this point, I'm at a stopping point in regards to the actual body of the pinch pot. But we need to work on the foot just a little bit because I was unable to get my hands all the way back down onto the bottom, specifically where this curve is. So this is going to be a little bit different. What you're going to do is you're going to put your thumb on the inside, and with your fingers here, I'm going to push. So it's going to look something like this. So imagine that your clay is in between your hands, and I'm going to push with my thumb into my fingers. So I'm pushing with my thumb into my fingers to thin out this curved area on my pinch pot. Now it's still a gentle process. It's not like I'm kind of pushing into my fingers. It's still gentle. I'm not pushing, really hard or anything. I'm still trying to do this with the even pressure all the way around, and I'm still overlapping. So even though you're using your thumb to push into these fingers, it's still a gentle push and you're still overlapping. And what that's doing is it's pushing that clay from that curved area of your pinch pot, it's pushing it up the clay wall. So you can kind of see it a little bit. So I pushed the clay from here, now it's sitting here because I pushed it up. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into that area where it pushed the clay up, and I'm going to pinch that out. And if it's still too far down, you can just continue to kind of go into this process. But make sure that you're pushing with your fingers in, so it's kind of like this motion, right? Because if you push only with your thumb, your pinch pot's gonna widen. It's gonna get too wide, and we want it to go up, not out. And once you've done that all the way around, you're really ready to smooth this out. So I'm going to smooth all of my little tiny fingerprints and ridges that we can kind of see. I'm going to smooth that out one last time. But this time I'm going to make sure that my hand is on the inside of my clay wall because my clay is really moist right now. And if I just, have my hand like this, it's going to alter the shape of my pinch pot. So any smoothing that you do at this point, you really want to make sure you're supporting the opposite wall. So you can even put your pinch pot down like this on the rim and you can smooth it. But be careful that you don't push too hard or else you're going to collapse your pinch pot. So just be really gentle. It's okay if you don't get all the lumps out at this point because we're going to let our clay set up for a little bit, and then you'll be able to get the rest of those little marks and pinch pot fingerprints out of there. Really, you just want to be smoothing any cracks out. It's okay if you have a little bit of lumpiness. That's not a huge deal because that will continue to smooth this the entire time we're building. So again, I'm supporting the inside clay wall though, so I don't collapse my pinch pot. If for some reason your pinch pot got way too wide, like it's way out here, then you need to squish your clay back down, re-wedge, and just start the process again. It won't take you very long, especially now that you've walked through it. You won't make the same mistakes. And practice makes perfect, guys. I wouldn't be surprised if you do have to redo this. If we were on campus, I would have you redo your pinch pot as part of the class. And if you want to be able to use your mug, I would really encourage you to do it a second time if you feel like it's not looking too good. You know the phrase, Rome wasn't made overnight, or Rome wasn't built overnight? We can certainly apply that here in our ceramics. It takes practice to become good at this stuff. Okay, so once you have your pinch pot all smoothed out, you're not going to spray it this time. We're going to set it on its rim, and then we're going to cover it up. Make sure that you spray your extra clay, spray it with some water, because we don't want this stuff getting all dried. So we're gonna need it. So spray that up, twist it up, make sure that it's away from the air. And then we're going to put our pinch pot inside our trash bag. And I do have a little example here, guys. If your pinch pot is starting to turn white like this one, then you've got a hole in your trash bag, or you're not sealing your project up, because this is hard. This has moved into the leather hard stage, and this happened because I left it out overnight. You don't want to leave your project out overnight, because we're going to add additional clay to this, and at this point I can no longer add clay to it. This is going to have to be put in a bucket of water and re-moistened and re-wedged. I'm going to add some other clay to it if I want to be able to reuse this. Okay, so we do not want this happening to our pinch pot right now. So we're going to put this inside of our trash bag. And you could even leave your board inside your bag while you're working if you want to, if that's easier for you. My bag's just a little bit small. If I had a bigger trash bag, it would work really well, but. Okay, so we're not gonna spray this because we want it to set up, but we do want to seal it. So try to get the air out of your trash bag. Twist it up. Put the tail end of your trash bag underneath your board. Have your extra clay next to it, and then put this somewhere safe. I'll see you next time.